There's a subtle belief that a lot of people who are unable to make progress on their path have, that left unchecked causes people to make wrong career path decisions, causes people to go off path, causes people to not make any progress, or the worst, not take any type of risk at all, any level of leap towards what it is that they're meant to be doing. And this belief is sort of summarized in a simple sentence, which is, I believe that if I try, I will fail. And if you don't know me, my name is Joe Yuli. I'm a philosopher and I help people to choose the right career path with conviction. I've helped students, hundreds of students from all around the world to know what their path is and then to begin walking their path. And I've noticed that this belief comes up time and time again for people who don't quite know which path they should choose is. And it's just lying dormant, hidden underneath their psyche in a way, whereby they haven't looked at this part of themselves and they keep trying to do tactical things. They keep trying to do different strategies or different healing methods. But there's this belief that, hey, anything that you try, you're automatically going to fail anyway, so why try at all? And I remember I was with a student and we were on a call going back and forth. And she told me that at her own 9-to-5 job, she was incredibly bored. Right? She'd get to the 9-to-5 job, she'd have to pull herself to the job, and she'd get there and she'd open her laptop and she'd log in, and she would make sure that she was at the first meeting, which she also told me was monotonous and mundane, and it just would go on and on and on. And then she'd end up going and working with the different people that she worked with within that organization, and emails would go back and forth. And at the end of the day, she was incredibly drained. But hey, at least she got to get paid at the end. Now, she told me in saying that she was bored, she knew she was bored, but the problem was that every time she started to allow herself to begin viewing through her vision the possibilities of who she could be and what she could do in her life, sometimes she was initially excited, but always she would end up having this sweeping fear come at her, whereby these different fears of, hey, if you pursue this path, you're not actually going to be able to make it happen. If you pursue this path, you're going to fail in front of everyone. Everyone's going to see you fail, and you're going to end up having to go back to your job, or even worse, you're going to lose where you are, and you're going to have to go back to square one. And you might not even be able to survive that. And so she told me that because she ends up adventuring into these possibilities only to be met with fear, that she automatically reverts into boredom. And the state of boredom is a place where at least she can survive, at least she can go on living, which in my mind is incredibly tragic. I mean, this life, this existence is not for simply surviving. It's for living, it's for being, it's for exploring both who you are, but your expression in the world, and then also connecting and serving other people and being a part of humanity in that sense. So it's not just about, spinning wheels. And as we were talking about this, one of the things that came to my mind was some of the ideas of the psychologist Carl Jung. Now, if you don't know Carl Jung, he was a depth psychologist, and he had a really interesting take that I've seen in my own work, whereby he saw that when people were going into these states of adventuring into the possibilities, they could often get lost in these possibilities, and in getting lost in these possibilities, end up being met with some reality in the process, and then they end up reverting into either a new idea, meaning a new possibility, so they'd go from new possibility to new possibility to new possibility, or they would end up repressing any type of excitement, any type of vitality, and they would just try to survive. And so he saw this interest in different things sometimes as a coping mechanism. He would also see this inclination towards boredom as not facing the challenges or the growth that is necessarily in being a human. Now, when I'm looking at this, I often see that this belief, if I try, I will fail, as polluting the soul, as being totally incoherent as well. Now, if you can imagine sort of like an oil spill in clean, pure water, that's what this belief does. Not only does it cloud the entirety of the water, but it also pollutes it. It causes like a toxic to ripple out into who you are as a person. And so you have to address it at the root. You have to go and say, why do I even believe that I will fail if I haven't tried at all? And you'll notice that even in that belief and in that sentence, that it suggests that in some way you can succeed by not trying, which makes no sense at all. Anybody that has succeeded at anything has to try at it. And logically that might make sense, but emotionally and energetically, it might be hard to grapple with and take in your own body and your own physicality. And so you want to start thinking about failure and success coming from the same tree, coming from the same root system, as almost two separate vines. And you can't have one without the other. There is no ability to at all be successful if in some way there is also not the possibility of failure. Now, knowing that would mean that you have to organize yourself in such a way where you face these different trials, where you face these different challenges so that you can overcome them and then eventually succeed. But to not try is the only way to fail. And I noticed this as well in a friend from a while back, but I remember him telling me that he was doing his business thing and it was very frantic. And as he was telling me about his business, he said that he's going to go to a networking event because apparently, according to him, everybody knows that it's all about who you know. And it was really, really important for him to go to this networking event. And so he did. And I ended up meeting up with him after his networking event a couple of weeks later. And he came to me and he told me that the networking event was a bit of a bust. However, he's onto the new thing. He's onto the new thing. And the new thing is all about having the right software in place. And so he started to go on about some sort of software. I can't exactly remember what kind of software it was. It could have been like email software. He started going on and on about this and, jumped onto this next thing. And I remember just saying, do you actually believe in what it is that you do? And do you believe that you can succeed at what you do? And as he, heard this question, I could just see he went a little bit pale-faced. And when he vocalized his answer, it was very, very weak. And he said, yeah. And that yeah, as it came out, it just spoke to me and said, you don't actually believe in what it is that you do. So he hadn't addressed the root. He hadn't addressed the fact that he didn't actually believe that he could be successful, which was why he had already given up on the networking thing. He was playing very much on the surface, looking for tactics, looking for things up top that would help him to, quote unquote, succeed. And yet, if he had addressed the root, which is in some way, in some level of his being, he doesn't believe that he can actually be successful, that left unaddressed meant that he wasn't going to be successful. He wouldn't be able to bring forth a path and walk a path whereby he could actually reap what it was that he was trying to sow. And it was unfortunate. It was really unfortunate because nobody wants to see their friends not being able to make it, unless you're some sort of unless you're a shit person. And when it comes to this idea of looking at this belief and overcoming that belief, you want to begin to rework it, reframe it, and not just in a logical way, but also in an emotional way. And what you want to start connecting your emotions to is that you want to connect success to actually trying. So rather than seeing success as some sort of end result, you want to see it as something that is done by you, that you have control over. And by seeing it like that, you start to rework it and you start to reframe success as trying. And that allows you to get momentum. That also allows you to get aligned. That also allows you to get some traction. And as you start to try in the world and get progress, then you can tweak stuff and you can improve stuff and you can make stuff better. In the example of the person that I gave you earlier with the student that I worked with who was never trying and instead reverted to boredom, it just took her a little bit of a, hey, go and try this and connect success with actually trying. We actually ended up helping her to start putting herself out on social media. And so it became, hey, just try. In other words, just post some things on social media about some areas of your interests that are connected to you. Just connect success with trying. Not how many likes you get, not what other people say about it. Who cares? Connect it with trying in the beginning. And it reworks it at a root level. And that's what matters. If you have the roots correct, then you can start building on stronger foundations. Now, if you're interested in learning more about how to overcome these barriers, and also what other barriers there are that you need to know about in order to walk your path, then you can go ahead and check out the Unearth membership, which I end up showing people how to know their career path by unearthing their career archetype. You can also go ahead and book a discovery call where I essentially jump on these free one-on-one calls with people, and they can ask me different questions about their career paths and how to go about walking their path, and we can get a real clear picture as to where you are. So if that interests you, the link's underneath this video.